if you ever hear this, I hope you do. There was a day where he was sleeping in his office. Like he was busted. We had just been sick for like a week, all of us, and just like, doing the horse calling, like trying to do our jodies or our commands, or even just what we were supposed to do that day. Like there was times where you had to have somebody stand next to him and talk for him, and so he was like beat. But like I was such a prankster back then, and I was so sassy, and he had his feet kicked up in his office, and he was just trying to get a little sleep, and I just came by his office and went and made it sound like some, another MTI was walking by his office, and he jumps up, looks around, comes out, eyes all bugging, calms down, and goes back into his office. And I must have done this like 3 times before he finally started accusing people of doing something. And I was like, I don't think I ever admitted it to him. If I did, I don't recall, but I don't think I ever did. God. And he was a blast. He was by far, like, out of all the instructors you could get in that sort of arena of life, I think he was perfect for the role. While he was, like, intense as all get out, he was also super real and super, like, in touch with his emotions. Like, he used to bring his son into the dorms and put him on his shoulders, and he'd walk to the lockers, and he'd be like, all right, son, do they pass or fail? And he'd be like, pass. And he'd be like, son says you pass. And he'd do fun stuff like that. And it was really funny when he failed you. Because the person would be like looking at the kid, trying to like make a joke with him. And his kid would be like, you can't bribe me. Daddy told me. God, we had so much fun with that. So with the me being the utility chief, there was one adventure in particular that I think defined that role for me during the 8 weeks I was there. So I was in charge of going down to the where the MTI's area was at, where they kept their supplies, and there was a supply chief there. So this person was another MTI who was just in charge of that for a certain amount of the day, and then maybe did some other activities at the end. And so, or some, mixture of that. Sometimes they'd swap out. They did a lot of formats. And so I kept going down there, and it was locked. Like 3 days go by. We're running low on toilet paper, paper towels, like stuff we need. And my MTI comes and grabs me, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, dude, I didn't say dude. He would have punched me. No, I did my whole thing. Airman Wiggins reports as ordered. I've gone there 3 to 4 times a day for 3 days, and nothing. He looks at me, and he goes, you serious? I said, yeah. He goes, come with me. And so we take off to the where the MTI's like main command center in the center of the building's at. And he runs over to the keys, grabs this key. We take off over to the supply closet area. We open up the door, and the room's dark. There's nobody in there. And he grabs a garbage bag, or I grab a garbage bag, and he goes, grab everything you need. Grab whatever. And I took that as like become a pirate right now. And I was like, yes. And so I did. And so I filled it up with patches and with, everything in that supply closet. Just loaded it up. And as I'm loading it up, right before I finish, he's at the door. And he turns and looks at me, and he goes, hey. And I said, yeah. And he goes, good luck. And he takes off. And I was like, I did not just get baited by my MTI. Are you kidding me? And so I take off to the door, and I get out, and I have this Santa Claus sized sack of stuff I'm not supposed to have. And I look to the right, and it's the supply chief at the other end of the drill pad. And he's like, you could see the blood boil out of his head from like 50 yards away. It was magical. And he just popped a lid and was like, Herman! And I knew at that moment that there was a fork in the road of my life. That was either you're no longer in the military or maybe you can get away with it. And so I took the sprint as hard as you possibly can route and did. And sprinted all the way back to the dorms. He chased me. And I get back into the dorms. Or to the barracks. Sorry, not the dorms, the barracks. And where the line, the this, the that, the box, the whatever. It's a building. And I get in, and right as I slide in, the ECP monitor, the entry control point monitor, closes the door, and he comes running up, and he runs into the door, and he's, open the door, open the door. Well, we have a policy. You have to show your ID. You have to state your name. You have to state your purpose. You have to state all these different things that you absolutely are not allowed inside unless you do all those things. He knows that, but he thinks that because he's chasing me, he can just supersede that rule. Well, our ECP monitor, who was Boone, oh my God, he was hysterical. He was previously a prison guard and had the delivery of the most sincerely intense person you'd ever met. I mean, he had seen some stuff. And so working as an ECP monitor in the Air Force for him was like rather chill. And so this dude's screaming at the window, and he's looking at him without missing a beat. Sir, I need to see your common access card. And we're just like dying laughing. And he's just losing his mind, but we're not going to let him in. And eventually he just goes away. But I just remember thinking about the what had to been going through his head when he took off. And then there was, and I have to tell this story because you can't just tell all the fun parts. You got to tell the parts that were a little bit tough. So the part that I think, the ego finally gave up. It was the second week. I was helping out our brother flight, which was the flight that was across from our door. So directly in front of our door was another door, and then there was a stairwell to the right. And so basically, we were going over there to help them organize. They were younger than us. We happened to be a very old group. We were all, like, there was maybe a couple 18, 19-year-olds. There was a lot of people in their late 20s, a lot of people in their early 20s who had some real life experience. And so we kind of just, vibed on that. And these other kids were a lot younger. So we're like, we get it. Like, it's pretty chaotic. Like, so we're over there helping them out, and I'm in the utility closet organizing, and I get into a vibe, and this is something you're not supposed to do. I start singing and dancing. What did I sing and dance, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. It was "This Is How We Do It," which, when sung at a loud enough volume to be heard, triggered the awakened form of the Brother Flight's MTI, who stopped walking and backed up and was like, hey, who was just singing that? And this dude was terrifying. He was bald. I can't remember his name, which I'm really upset because he was like a really cool MTI, but dude, he was razor sharp intense. And I think the part that scared me the most about him was that he never cursed, and he almost never raised his voice at times that it wasn't necessary to get a point across. So it was always, you felt a little bit of a legitimate weight to what he said. It wasn't just getting yelled at. It wasn't empty. It meant something. So when he stopped and he was like, who did that? I was like, if I don't say something right now, we're all going to get in trouble. And so I walked forward. I was like, sorry, Jenny, who am I? Sorry, it's Airman Wiggins, or trainee Wiggins reports as ordered. And he goes, Wiggins. He said, come with me. So we walk over to my MTI, Sergeant Sparks. And he says, Sergeant Sparks, I got a trainee here for you. And Sergeant Sparks looks at me and goes, he's one of my favorites. He goes, well, not for long. And he furrows his brow at me, and I just knew it was coming. And they were like, he told him what happened, and they said, go on, sing it for us. Well, I'm feeling pretty awkward at this point, so it's not coming out like it did before. It's, this is how we, and they, no, no, you were shaking your hips, you were singing along, it was pretty good. And they're just getting in there. And finally, I get like one bar properly out, and he just yells, "Shut up!" at like the top of his lungs. And then I go into the day room, which is the same room I was in previously, when it was time to pick our leaders and folk. We were in the other day room, and he called all of Brother Flight in there, and he said, "This person thinks it's fun to sing and dance and have a party, and obviously you encouraged him because no one stopped him, so you're all going to push because of him." So they all start push-ups, which I don't know if you've ever had like 45 to 50 angry, relatively large people staring you down as they struggle on the floor. Some of which legitimately believing that you're the reason they're doing it, not recognizing yet that they're going to do it no matter what. They're just going to pick somebody to scapegoat and see how you handle it as a team. And so I got some real mean eyes. And he comes into the day room and he goes, "I'm feeling like I'm in the Christmas spirit." Because at the time I went to basic in December. So, it was about that time. And he he told me to sing Christmas carols. And I just broke. I started crying, and then I tried to sing Christmas carols, and then eventually Brother Flight was like, "God, man," they felt so bad because it was just bawling my eyes out. It was just like, I can't anymore. I just gave up. And eventually some people started helping me, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, I think this kid's had enough. Like, he's spent." And so they started helping me remember songs, and I started singing them. And then it started being fun, and then as soon as it became fun, then he got mad again and made it not fun. And then he started turning me into a radio doing Christmas carols, so he would just say next, just as fast as he could. And he ended up out on the drill pad at one point, and I had to sing it loud enough for him to hear it downstairs. He was on the first floor. We were on the second floor. After which, I became known as Jingle Bells. That was my nickname, so people call me Jingle Bells. There was another nickname that I was known by as the Cable Guy. And if you can't figure that one out, then good luck. So, this Cable Guy nickname came from Beast Week, which Beast Week is where you do a week in a mock, like, desert deployment type deal. So, like, Army temper tents, cots, ECP monitors, different obstacle courses, training, tear gas, the whole nine. And so we were there, and like any good adult or child, young adult, whatever you wanted to call us, I don't know. We were somewhere in there. When you hand a bunch of people a bunch of fake guns and a bunch of fake armor, and you tell them to LARP, I'm just telling you right now, I don't care. You're a Marine, you're Army, you're Navy, you're Air Force, you're Coast Guard. You're going to LARP so hard. And it was the most hysterical, convoluted, just hodgepodge of idiocracy. I loved it so much. So, like, at the very beginning of the week, they're like, you have to be wearing your boots when you go to the bathroom. They're like, all these uniform pieces you had to be wearing when you left the tent. You couldn't walk out of the tent without it. And at the beginning, everybody's like real strict about it because they're taking it seriously. And they're like, yeah, put on all your stuff. And this would be the middle of the night. You just got to go pee, and bathroom's like 50, 75 yards away. And somebody stops you and they're like, "Hey man, did you put on a helmet?" And like the first couple times, some people were nice. Most people didn't follow some of those like right off the bat. And it was interesting watching over the week the development of the outfit that people chose to get to the bathroom. And you could almost see the thought process behind it in the bathroom. So, like, it'd be the middle of the night. It's like 3 a.m. super dark out. There's coyotes all out and